Welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, the channel where we get to solve the best puzzles in the world day after day after day. It is such a thrill and a privilege. And today's puzzle is called Six Pack, and it's by James Sinclair. And I think this came into us very recently, actually. Mark sent it to me this morning with a message that says this is a beautiful Cracking the Cryptic puzzle, whatever that means. He also said it's genuinely approachable. So if you are new to variant Sudoku and you're wondering what all these strange lines are in the grid, do not worry. These are all perfectly understandable, and actually this puzzle ought to be doable, and I'm quite pleased about that because the last 2 days I have had to wrestle with bears in order to actually get the puzzle solved. Now, I've got a couple of things to mention before I read you the rules of the puzzle. The first is I need to say congratulations to more of you who've managed to solve the Star Wars Sudoku Hunt, which is available right now over on Patreon. So very well done to Matthias Levin, AC Beach, Katarzyna Lapotte, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, Amanda Berg, Eric Yoda. Now, if Yoda's solving a Star Wars Sudoku Hunt, you know the universe is in the right place. Ellie Bott, Alok Singhal, Rachel Nordgren, Bryn and Leland, I think, and Scott Murdoch. All of you are correct. Very well done indeed. And the only other bit of news is about a bonus video. So tomorrow morning UK time, about 10 o'clock, we will release a video where I solve some of the pencil puzzles which are appearing every day over on the Discord server. So I managed to find time to make a video of me making my way through those. All very interesting puzzles, none of which I had never seen any of the type before. So there was one puzzle in particular I absolutely loved called a Vama or a Varma puzzle by Shy. So yeah, if you've not checked that out yet, do have a look at the Discord server. It is a wonderful place to spend some time. Now, all that said and done, let's get on with the rules of James's puzzle. They are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. In cages, digits must sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage. Digits cannot repeat within a cage, so those cells there sum to 25, and you can't repeat a digit, so you can't do something like that, because although those digits do add to 25, you have repeated a 9 in the cage, and that's extremely naughty, so don't do it. The grey lines are palindromes, which contain the same sequence of digits forwards and backwards. So let's look at this palindrome. I see, this is why it's called Six Pack. Presumably it's because we have 6 of these little curved palindromes in the grid, and the way they work is that, let's imagine we worked out this square was a 1. Well, then we would know that this square was a 1. Because what we must ensure is that when we read the palindrome from one end, let's read it from this end, it would read 1, 3, 3, 1. And if we read it from the other end instead, it would read 1, 3, 3, 1. So it reads the same way, the same sequence from both sides. So that's how a palindrome works. And then digits in cells separated by a white dot are consecutive. So let's imagine we worked out that this digit was a 5. Now this digit would have to be a 4 or a 6 because it must be consecutive with 5. That's all the rules. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And well, I could jump to what I think is the solution to how to solve this puzzle, because I can sort of see what's going on here, or at least I am deeply suspicious about columns 1, 4 and 7 and rows 3 and 6. These curved palindromes are rather shouting at me. And yeah, the fact is, if we look at the cages here, none of them are very resolvable. I mean, the most restricted I think is the 14 cage, which has just 2 options. It's either got to be 6, 8 or 5, 9. But everything else I think has a lot more optionality. And it doesn't look to me at first blush like, knowing those 2 digits are the same is going to be terribly helpful in terms of finishing the puzzle. So I think what we've got going on here is some sort of set equivalence theory, which let me just do this Let me just have a quick look at this, and if it looks relevant, we will do the explanation, probably the Scrabble tile explanation again. So let me see. We can delete. Yeah, we can delete so we can delete so many digits. 39. Yeah. Okay. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. I'm going to restart now because I now understand how to explain what's going on in the puzzle, and what I can tell you, what we're going to end up with here, is that this digit, and this digit are a 1, 2, 3 triple. And isn't it amazing? I mean, this to me is quite beautiful, because I can tell you without fear of contradiction, if I'd have tried this puzzle 2 years ago, well, unless there is something else here that I'm not spotting, I might never have spotted that. Yet nowadays, because set equivalence theory has become so sort of ingrained and practiced, it's a very quick spot. And that being a 1, 2, 3 triple is just remarkably gorgeous. So how do we prove this is a 1, 2, 3 triple? I mean, this puzzle could appear in the World Puzzle Championship now. There is no way this could have appeared a few years ago. No one would ever have been able to do it. But now that break-in is so well signalled. I think it's almost fair. Anyway, let's get on with it. Why do I think those cells were a 1, 2, 3 triple? It's because I want to use Scrabble tiles. So these blue cells I've just highlighted, we've got no idea what the disposition of digits is in each of these columns. You know, I don't know if this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, or 9, 8, 7, 6, or something else. I've got no clue. But I do know what the total composition of the blue cells is, because each of these blue columns is one set of the digits 1 to 9 due to the rules of Sudoku. So in fact, the blue cells taken all together are 3 complete sets of the digits 1 to 9, with each digit appearing 3 times. So imagine that we filled a Scrabble bag full of 27 blue Scrabble tiles, then representing these digits. So we would have to write the digits 1 to 9 on one set of 9, the digits 1 to 9 on the second set of 9, and the digits 1 to 9 on a third set of 9. So in my bag, I would have 27 tiles, and there would be 3 tiles with a digit 1 on them, 3 with a digit 2, 3 with a digit 3, all the way up to 3 with a digit 9. Now, that's my blue bag. Now I'm going to have a different bag, which is going to have just 18 tiles in it. And that's going to be made up of row 3 and row 6 of this puzzle. And in my orange bag, I'm going to have 2 tiles with the digit 1, 2 tiles with the digit 2, 2 tiles with the digit 3, all the way through to 2 tiles with the digit 9. So at this point, I've got a big bag of blue tiles and I've got a big bag of orange tiles, and they're slightly different. The composition of these bags is slightly different because my blue bag has 1 complete set of the digits 1 to 9 more in it than my orange bag, represented by the extra column. Now, not a very good way of highlighting a column, but you see what I mean. Now, how do we use this to solve the puzzle? How do we use these Scrabble bags to solve the puzzle? Well, whatever digit turns out to be in this square in the finished solution, that is in my blue bag and it's in my orange bag. So if I was to go and scuttle away and find that digit in blue and find it in orange, I could pick it out of both bags and throw it away. And once I'd done that, my blue bag would only have 26 tiles in it, and my orange bag would only have 17 tiles in it. But it would still be true to say that the blue bag had the difference between the contents of the blue bag and the contents of the orange bag would be exactly 1 set of the digits 1 to 9. Because that was the difference before I removed anything from both bags, and I've removed the same thing from both bags, so the difference must still be the same. So any cell in this puzzle that has a blue flash and an orange flash, I can simply remove from both bags. So I remove those 6 tiles, and we're still at the point now where the difference between the blue bag and the orange bag is still one set of the digits 1 to 9. And we can see that numerically. Look, we've got 12 tiles, look, left in my orange bag, and therefore I know that I must have 21 tiles in my blue bag, and if you can see, we've still got 7 in each of the 3 columns. So yes, we do have 21 tiles left in blue. But look at how beautiful this works now with these palindromes. Because I know that this tile here, whatever's in this cell in the finished grid, because of the palindrome, is also in that cell. So if I was to remove this tile from my orange bag and that tile from my blue bag, I would be removing the same thing from both bags because these must be the same digit because of the palindrome. And I can do that using all of these palindromes. This just works along all of the palindromes. So in fact, what we end up with, somewhat strangely here, is a completely empty orange bag. I have completely emptied my orange bag of tiles, and I'm left with 9 tiles in my blue bag, which I know must just be one set of the digits 1 to 9. Because that was the difference between the 2 bags before I started this exercise of removing, the same tiles from each bag. Now, if my blue cells in this puzzle is one set of the digits 1 to 9, we can use the secret. One set of the digits 1 to 9, if you add up each digit, you'll get 45. And those 6 cells sum up to 39, so these 3 cells must sum up to 6, i.e. 45 minus 39, that's 6. So how do we make those 3 digits add up to 6? They must be a 1, 2, 3 triple. Isn't that gorgeous? That's just lovely, isn't it? It's not tricky. Well, actually, I'm going to qualify that because that's a silly thing for me to have said. It's absolutely impossible to do that if you've not seen it before. Not impossible, virtually impossible. Certainly, probably impossible to do it at speed. But if you've seen it a few times before, it's second nature, and it's just, well, it's going to give us a 3, and that's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. Because, why is this a 3? Well, this domino adds up to 12. So, if we put a 1 or a 2 there, you've got to put a double-digit number above it to make 12, and that won't work. So that must be a 3, and that's a 9. And we have digits in the grid as a result of our set theory, and that's on a palindrome. So I get another digit for free. So now 9 in box number 1 must be in one of those 3 cells. And the 20 cage, yes, okay. So the 20 cage has 2 cells in it that sum up to 3. So these 2 digits must add up to 17. And the only way of doing that is with an 8-9 pair. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that 9 is in this 17 cage here by Sudoku, look. And that's a little bit interesting, because then we know the other 3 digits in this cage add up to 8. And if 3 digits add up to 8 and you can't repeat a digit, that must involve a 1. So there must be a 1 in this cage. It's either going to be a 1, 2, 5 or a 1, 3, 4 combination to go with our 9. I'm not exactly sure how I don't know if I can do more with that. Maybe not. So, what else can we do here? What are the blue cells? Oh, goodness. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. Right. Let us revisit where we started from. So I used the secret and I used maths to get me this 1, 2, 3 triple. But let's return to fundamentally what the blue cells represented. We worked out that what we were left with in the blue bag of Scrabble tiles was one set of the digits 1 to 9, by which I mean we had one tile with a 1 on it, one tile with a 2 on it, one tile with a 3 on it, etc., etc. Well, I've used the 1, 2 and the 3, so these 6 tiles must be the digits 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So which one of these dominoes is going to have a 4 in it? Well, it's not the 13 cage, because the 13 cage would then need a 9 as well, and we know the 9 is in one of those 3 cells. And it's not the 14 cage, because last time we checked you couldn't put 4 and 10 into 2 Sudoku cells. So the 4 must be in the 12 cage, along with an 8. And that's beautiful, because now my 14 cage can't have an 8 in it, so it's not 6 and 8, so it must be 5 and 9. And that must be a 6-7 pair to complete the usage of all different digits in the blue cells. That's just a beautiful beginning? It really is. Now that cell can't be a 9, look. Now, I hope this doesn't grind to a halt now, because that's such a beautiful start. Let me just have a think about this for a moment or two while I try and see whether we can do something useful. Oh, yes, here is something. That can't be a 9, because if it's a 9, on the palindrome, that would make this cell a 9 as well, where it would clash. So that's not a 9, and that I think is interesting for a 26 cage, because I know something about a 26 in 4 cells. If it doesn't have a 9 in it, it must be 8765. That's the only way you can make the total work. So that selection of digits there is an 8765 quadruple. And oh, I see. And then 2 of these, look, are on the palindrome. So that one gets reflected here, and this one gets reflected here. And we've got a 6. Oh, and then we've got the 6-7 pair ruling a 6-7 out of those 2. Whoopsie. So that's not a 6-7 because of the 6-7 domino here, and therefore the palindrome has 5s and 8s on it. Which means those 2 squares now are not 5 and 8 because there's already a 5-8 pair in box 4. And this column, look, has used all the digits now apart from a 1, a 2 and a 4 into those cells. And that's on a palindrome, so that's also a 1, 2 or a 4. And it's not a 1, because if it was a 1, if you had a 1 in that in here, you would also have a 1 in there. And look what that does to my 17 cage. We know the 17 cage has a 1 in it somewhere, so if there were 2 1s there, you couldn't put a 1 in that 17 cage anymore. So that won't work. So that's a 2 or a... Oh, okay, and whatever that is, if this is double 2, that's going to make the 17 cage have to have 1, 3, 4 and 9 in it. But if that's double 4, you're going to have 1, 2, 5 and 9 in the 17 cage. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Can we rule anything in or out of the 25 cage now? Can only have 1 of 6 and 7 in it because of this domino here. So you could put a 6 or a 7 in this cell, but you obviously can't put any 6s and 7s in there. I'm not sure. Maybe we've got to think harder about 17 cage. Oh, right, okay, I see. It's not the 17 cage and this, it's the 17 cage and this. Yeah, that's actually incredibly clever. Good grief. Yeah, okay, so let's ask the question, can this be a 1? Well, if it's a 1, where do we put the 1 in my 17 cage? It could only go on this square. So if this is a 1, we have to put the 1 in the 17 cage there on the palindrome, where it bounces back on the palindrome and ends up there, and you get a double 1 in box 9. That's really clever. That's just lovely logic again. James Sinclair, take a bow. This puzzle is very enjoyable. So this square here must be a 2. And for the same reason now, we can't put a 2 here, because if that's a 2, you get a 2 bouncing back there. So now we actually know the 17 cage cannot have a 2 in it. So it must be, we now know its contents. It must be 1, 3, 4, 9. That's not 9. So the other cell on the palindrome is therefore 1, 3 or 4. 9 here means that's not 9, so that means that square's 1, 3 or 4. So now we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple in row 6, and I'm now going to allege, perhaps incorrectly, that this square is an 8, because look at this row. Where do you put the 8 in it? Well, you can't put an 8 there because it sees a 4, 8 in its column. And if you put an 8 on the palindrome, it gets reflected down there and hits an 8, 9 in box 8. So I think the only place for an 8 in that row is here. Is that, oh, no, that might be interesting for the 25 cage, actually, because now I can see I can't put 8 in that anymore. Does that mean it's, presumably it's got, yes, right, okay, so let's think about the 25 cage. If it doesn't have an 8 in it, and it can't have an 8 in it now, does it have a 9 in it? Well, if it didn't have a 9 in it, the maximum digits we could place in it would be 7, 6, 5 and 4, which only add up to 22. So there is a 9 in the 25 cage, and that 9 must be in one of those 3 cells. Oh, in fact, no, it must be in one of those 2 cells exactly, because of this 5, 9 here, ruling out those 2 positions. And it can only have one of 6 and 7 in it. 7. Yeah, that's it. Okay, this is very nice now. So if we put 7 in, which is the maximum of 6 and 7 we could put into it, and the 7 would have to go here, then we would have 9 plus 7 is 16 in 2 of the cells of this 25 cage, and the digits remaining that we could try and add up to the remaining 9 that we need are 5 and 4 only, because we can't put another 9 in it. We know we can't put 8 in it anywhere. We can only put one of 6 and 7 because this is not a Schrödinger cell, unlike that puzzle I did the other day. It can't be 6 and 7 simultaneously. So we're left with knowing the contents of this cage. It must be 4, 5, 7 and 9, and we know the 7 must be there. So we also know that's a 7 due to the palindrome. We know, oh, this square's a 4 because it sees 5, 9 in the column, so that's 4, therefore to complete the other palindrome piece. So we've now got 4, 7 here, ruling 4 out of that square. Okay, 5, 9 here means this square must be an 8, and that's a 5, so we can do the 5 and the 8 on 6 pack number 1. So we've done pack 1, we've done pack 3, we've sort of got a grip on pack 6, and we've sort of got a grip on pack 4, so we've just got to get pack 2 and pack 5 figured out. Okay, let's try and do that. This 4 is nice, look, that rules 4 out of those squares, which rules 4 out of those squares on the palindrome. Oh, and now I've got a 1, 3 pair here, which affects those squares. So this is now a 4, 9 pair looking at this square, which must be a 2. On the palindrome, that gives us another 2. We get a 1 in column 1 and a 4 here. Wow, okay. And now those squares have got to be a 5, 6, 7 triple. And 2 of them are on the palindrome, so they're a 5, 6, 7. These have to be selected from 5, 6, 7 as well, and that means we've got a 5, 6, 7 triple in column 4. So let me think about this. We need 1s, 2s, 3s and 9s, don't we, into these squares. Can we see it in a... I sort of want that to be very restricted. I'm not sure if it is or not. That can't be 9. That can't be 1. So that's got to be a 1, 2 or a 3, and that's got to be a 2, 3 or a 9. Oh, and a C, because of the palindrome logic, that becomes a 2. That's so strange. Yeah, that's really strange, but very beautiful. This 1 although it's only seeing those 3 cells, actually affects the rest of the column as well. So the question we can ask is, where does the 1 go in column 4? And because it can't go in those 3 squares, it can't go in any of those 3 squares and gets pushed into the bottom. Where, of course, we could have got this earlier by noting that this square is a 2, and therefore that was a 1 in the box. But you know me, I always like to take the long route, the route less, or the road less. What was the Robert Frost poem? Less travelled, I think. The road less travelled. I might be wrong. Right, this square here is a 6 by Sudoku. Now, if that's a 2 or a 3... Oh, this... Yeah, this is on a domino, so this needs to be consecutive with 2 or 3, but it can't be 2, 3 or 9, because we've already got 2, 3, 9 triple in the box. So this has to be a 1 or a 4, and it can't be a 4. So that's a 1, that's a 2, that's a 2. We can tidy up some 2-edges in the grid, and not sure if we can go further than that. That's a 1 or a 3, and the 4 has gone from the box, so that square must be a 2. So probably what we need to do now is to have a look at these white dots, although I can see this square needs to be a 6 to finish off box number 6 in the grid. Now, can we do the same with this cell then? So this square is consecutive with 5, 6 or 7, but can't itself be 5, 6 or 7, so that must be a 4 or an 8, which is almost good, but perhaps not good enough. Those are a 1, 3 pair. And that gives me this square as a 9, which makes that square a 9 and that square a 3. This 9 finishes the 9 down here, places 8 here. Aha! And now I know what this square is, because 8s are pinching the corner of that box, and the only place for 8 in the central box is right in the middle, which makes the cell below it a 7. Fill in the palindrome. Okay, that's good. What do we do now? We say, where does 4 go in the middle box? It's got to go here by Sudoku. These should be a 1, 3 pair, which we can fill in. And now, presumably, this domino is restricted. We've got to select this domino from 4, 5, or 6. So it must have a 5 on it, because we can't put 4 and 6 in this domino. They wouldn't be consecutive. So that square's got to be a 6, that's a 6, that's a 5. And actually we end up with a 4, 5 pair on the domino and a 6 at the top of the grid by Sudoku, which gives me a 6, 7 over there. A 7 by Sudoku of all things here. That square's a 5 by Sudoku. This column needs a 2 and a 3. 2 here looks nice. That finishes the 3 and the 1, which finishes that palindrome. That 4 is giving me the 4 and the 9 and the 5. That 5 is giving me the 5 and the 9. That gives me a 9 in this box. Those squares are 2, 3 and 4. Don't know if we can do that ordering yet. Let's hold off on that and see if we can do something else. 4 and 5 get placed over here. So those two squares have got to be 6 and 8, and we can see how to do that. That finishes the 6 and the 7 up here. And this box needs 1, 4, 5 and 7. Now, can we see how to do that quickly? I can't see immediately how to do that. There's loads of eliminations we can do, but I couldn't immediately see how to, whether they were all fill-inable. But perhaps they are. That 2 can't go there. Oh, the 5, no, that's not quite doing it. 1, 3... This must be done somehow. What about those squares then? 5, 6, 7s and 8s. So 6, you can see, is being pinched into this square. So that leaves 7 to go here. That's going to be nice, isn't it? So that gives us a 1 here, a 5 here, a 4 here, a 7 here, a 3 at the top, a 3 here, a 1 here. Those become a 2, 4 pair, which I'm not sure how that gets resolved. These squares are 5 and 8. And this box up at the top needs to be 1, 2, 3 and 8. So we can put the 1 in the corner, the 2 here, the 3 here, the 8 here, the 8 here, the 4 here, the 4 here, and the 2 here. And I think that's how to solve the puzzle. Indeed, yes it is. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. So a slightly shorter video for me today, just half an hour. I remember the days when I used to be able to do videos in about 15 or 16 minutes on the channel, but that was about 3 or 4 years ago, before the world of Sudoku became a very, very interesting and alarming place. Thanks so much for watching. Really enjoyed that today. I hope you did too. Let me know in the comments, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.